Welcome everyone to the Inspired Riding Audio Summit. We're going to be talking about the benefits of intuition in the horse world. Today I am speaking with Madison Person. She has been in the equestrian world for 11 years. She's been teaching riding for 4 years. She's located in Southern Maryland. And her newest mission in the equine world is to bring horses a voice, using force-free methods and encouraging others to do the same. Madison, thank you so much for being here. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So we're going to get right to it. I would love to know, what do you love most about working with horses?
I'd say my favorite thing about working with horses is that there's always, quote unquote, a problem to solve, something to fix or something to learn. So that's probably my favorite part is I love having people come and ask their questions about how can I do this with my horse or etc. And just finding different ways to find solutions.
I love it. That's so good. So what is something a horse has taught you that has changed your perspective?
Horses overall have just changed my perspective on life in general, but there was 2 horses that have really changed how I look at equines in general, and that was a lesson horse I used to ride named Sparky. I rode him for about 2.5, 3 years, and he was known as a problem horse. My old nickname for him was like Fire Breathing Dragon because he would explode. And back then, that was earlier on in my riding career, I had always just been taught, oh, he's just being bad, he's just doing this, etc. And the more I've grown, I've realized that no horse is ever bad. They're just expressing something. Every action has a reason. With his, my guess was pain that wasn't being addressed. And having experiences with horses like him has really helped me change the mindset of it's always expressing something. It's a reaction, not just an action itself. So he was one of the big ones. And then my own horse that I have now, her name is Delilah. She was in such a place where they almost euthanized her. She was a feral rescue, and for months they could not put hands on her. And now she's a little cuddle bug at my house. So they're the 2 that have really changed my perspective on how I look at horses and being in the mindset of horses owe us nothing. We're the ones asking them to do things and compete and all these other things that we do with them, but they just know to be a horse. So
that's beautiful. I got chills from that. So I'd love to hear more about the shift in Delilah. Like what happened? Like how did you get her to go from feral to cuddlebug?
So I got her about 2.5 years ago now from a rescue. The trainer that worked at the rescue was able to take her, and she did a rescue to stardom program. She actually placed second, which is really cool. So she was green belt when I got her, but she was still very, I would say, shut down. Whereas she would do the things you want of her, but she wouldn't be very expressive in her facial manners or anything like that. And so I have not been riding personally much the past 2 years I've had her. My timing was brilliant because I started having seizures and other things like that. So I've done tons of groundwork and was able to use positive reinforcement to find other things to teach her. And I have seen her personality come to life. She used to run away when she saw people come to get her in the field, and now she meets me. She'll run up to me at the gate and all these different kinds of things. And she, from my perspective, it seems that she feels confident enough to ask questions. She used to be very anxious if you asked her. For example, side passing was one that she knew, and she would like throw her body at you because she was so worried about getting it wrong. But now I'm retraining her with a target, and she's starting to be like, do you want this? Like, yes or no? And then she'll puff up and get really proud when she finally figures it out. So I just have seen a lot more confidence in her, and she's not scared to get it wrong anymore.
That's absolutely beautiful. It sounds like you just gave her the time and space and the kindness that she needed to blossom.
And I think life has a funny way of working out that it just timed it out well, that she needed the time and space, and then I physically couldn't anyway, so it all kind of panned out for the best.
I'm so sorry to hear about the seizures.
They've been under control recently, the past 2 months in surgery, so I'm starting now, hopefully, to make recovery.
Oh, good. That's wonderful to hear. So let's move on to the intuition part. How has your intuition helped you when interacting with horses or clients?
I would say it's helped a lot in knowing what they need, whereas I think before I really started using it, I would just kind of base it off of what I thought they needed versus what the horse was actually telling me. It's allowed me to have a lot more patience, I find. It often tells me to slow down and not rush things. And then with clients, I've found that I'm able to pick up more on maybe things they have going on personally that can be affecting their relationship with their horse. And it's also helped me figure out like barns and things I'd want to go to if I was between jobs or something. I could take a minute to sit back and see how I felt about them and find the barn that was actually meant for me.
That's really brilliant. So you waited for those green lights to make sure it was the right step forward.
Yes, and it's taken time, but over the years it's definitely gotten stronger as in knowing when it's a green light versus a red light.
Are there certain techniques that you've used to help you hone in on your intuition?
I guess I would say I have. For me, it personally comes through as like clairaudience, like something I hear. So I'll be like, A or B. And kind of whichever one I feel or like I'm hearing is the one I tend to go with. That was just how I've come through the years. Or I will make lists. I'm very much a list person. And I'll ask, like, how does this place make me feel? Or how does this person make me feel? And just try to list out all the reasons why I find it would to be, like, why it would be a positive situation or something to pursue.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And that's such a good point. Everyone has different gifts, and the intuition can stream in so many different ways. So I'm definitely more of a feeling and a visual, and then my audio is like the last part. So, but that's neat that you're able to hear it and know for sure.
Yeah, visual is probably my least strongest.
It's amazing. I love how unique we all are, just like the horses, you know?
Yes.
How has intuition ever surprised you in life? And can you share a story about this?
It surprises me all the time. It just tends to pop up at the randomest moments, but I find some of the more memorable ones is when I'll just be driving and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't go this way today. And then later I'll find out like there's an accident on that road, or just things crazy like that. Like I remember one time I was going out to the store and then all of a sudden I was like, maybe not. Like there was really no reason not to go to the store. And then later I found out there was a shooting at that same store. And I was like, oh my goodness. So just crazy things like that where it'll just pop up and be like, maybe not.
That'll definitely get you listening even more.
Yeah. Or I've had like in jobs, I was between two jobs and logically everyone was telling me to go for this one. And something just in the back of my mind was just like, no, I don't think so. And eventually I went with it and I ended up taking the horse route of the two jobs, and I was very happy and was able to meet a whole new community of people.
That's fantastic. I love it so much. I would love if you could please share a transformation story that occurred as a direct result of trusting your intuition, either with yourself, a horse, or another human you were helping.
So I'd say, again, definitely Delilah. She's the one that has definitely been the biggest transformation that I've seen. But people-wise, for myself, my self-confidence has grown tremendously. Growing up, I had terrible self-confidence, and I was always very anxious to interact with people. But the more I listen to my intuition and start to trust the decisions I'm making, the more confidence I've built along the way. Because I think a lot of my anxiety stems from when I'm not sure.
Sure.
So having my own intuition kind of back me up and validate the choices I've made has really helped grow in self-confidence in the choices I'm making in the future.
And I'm sure the horses can sense that as well, right?
Yes, definitely. I definitely think horses know when you're anxious or unsure about what you're doing. And now that I have a little more of leadership qualities in myself, I find that they're less hesitant when I ask a question. They're just kind of like, okay.
It's so beautiful because then you can create that clarity within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the horse is kind of like, it becomes a magnet for the horse. Like, yes, we like her. Let's hang out with her more.
Yeah. And the more I've cleared my own head and kind of taken a breath, the more willing they are to be around you, even just in general.
Do you find while you're working with horses that you have to remind yourself to come back into your body and check in with your intuition?
Very much. If it tends to not be as much as if I'm just going down there to like have a fun day and I end up doing something, I don't tend to drift as much. But if I'm trying to video or explain to other people what I'm doing, I definitely will tend to drift off into my head of like, what does this angle look like? How much am I going to have to edit out, etc. So having to remind myself, like, focus on this now, you can think about that later, has definitely been something that's my current struggle.
And you're not alone. Almost every human is like this. So I just
The
was
monkey
very
brain.
curious. Yeah. So do you have like a specific cue to remind you to come back? Or?
Normally my horse will tell me first if things start going quote unquote wrong. Like if I'm asking something and they're really not getting it, it's probably because I'm not being clear enough in my own signals or focusing. So typically the horse will tell me that I've drifted off before I even realize it.
I love that. They're like the best biofeedback for us, you know?
Definitely mirrors to whatever you have going on.
Totally. So, what lights you up and inspires you immensely in the horse world?
I'd say the biggest thing that has really sparked any like passion, other than just horses in general, have always excited me, but has been discovering positive reinforcement and like force-free methods recently, because I've just seen such a big improvement in the horses. Like they're such forgiving animals that even if other methods were working, they're going to do it because that's just how horses are. But now my horse will wait for me at the gate to like start working, whereas before she'd see me and be like, no. And I can end a session and give her like the end session cue, and she'll go right back over to the cone and be like, but I'm not done.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that.
So just seeing horses' actual personality shine through and not just seeing what they can do for us has really changed my whole world with the equines in general, and seeing that I can do all the things that I wanted to do, but in a way that they want to also pursue it as well.
So it definitely becomes that co-creative dance that we love.
Yes.
So much fun. What do you wish everyone would do when it comes to their horse time?
I really wish I could see more people take the time to just go out and sit with their horse or just be around them and not have any expectation or goal for the day. Because now that I have my horses at home, I do it a lot more often, where I can just walk down the road and just say hi. Whereas in the boarding world, where most people have their horses, they're only coming out to ride or train because, again, it takes so much time to get out there, and we all have busy lives. But it really will make a difference to your horse taking the time to just be with them. I actually have a Percheron I rescued a year ago named Bubba. He was an Amish horse. He's about 26, so he's an older guy, but he never had anybody just spend time with him and not expect something of him. So for the longest time, we'd just sit in the field and I'd talk to him, and he's just grazing, and now his personality has come out so much more, and he's playful, and you would never know he's as old as he was. Whereas when I first got him, his head was always hanging low and he never really moved around. And now he'll go out in the field and run around and play with my others. So I think just letting them be horses and not have an expectation for them can really change how they feel about you as well as an owner. And if you do have an expectation, like if you are planning to go out and train or ride, I think taking that time to leave all the extra behind before you get to the barn makes a big difference. Because a lot of times I'll have clients come out to me and be like, they won't connect, or they don't want to listen in or follow along. And I think it's because I'm looking at you and I can hardly follow along. You have so much going on just in your energy and in your thoughts that if we give them a clear path, it's going to be a lot easier. So I think it's important to take that time to clear your head before you even get started with your day.
I totally agree. So how do you usually advise your clients to do that when they arrive?
So it's, again, we're all so different and so personal that I think it's finding that method that works for you. Like some people I have, they like to write everything they're thinking about down.
Right.
To just get it out. Others, like I personally love listening to music. That helps me focus on one thing. So I just advise them to figure out where they feel calm and where they feel best at, and then try to repeat that process before you get to your horses and find that center of gravity. And there's been all kinds of different formats and ways.
My meditations, I love that. That's fantastic. I wish every instructor would acknowledge that and remind their clients to do that. That's a huge thing.
Yes, I definitely remember, especially when I first started, I didn't have the kindest instructor back then, which obviously makes a difference, but I'd be so concerned about what others were thinking about my riding or what my coach was going to say that it was taking away from my riding and making it worse. So I think as an instructor now, I've really tried to make people feel their best before even considering the horse aspect of it. Because if we're not feeling okay, it's going to translate to them.
Absolutely. I'm sure the horses appreciate that big time.
Yeah. Just happy people make happy horses.
Totally. Yeah. We just need a billboard like that. What's one piece of advice you would give your younger self for encouragement?
I think going back to the topic of not worrying about what other people are thinking, that you'll find your people. You'll find people that agree with your methods and your style, and the only opinion that really matters at the end of the day is your horses and yours, of how you feel about what you're doing. And so younger me could have definitely used that.
I love that. So hopefully that helps someone listening right now. So
yes. You will eventually find your group.
So Madison, what does the phrase "may the horse be with you always" mean to you?
For me personally, it means always carrying your compassion and forgiveness, the things that horses give so freely all the time. That's something I want to carry with me, is that aspect of horses, because there's definitely times where I feel like I'm being tried and I'm like, and you want to hold that grudge, but it doesn't help in the long run. So carrying that forgiveness with you all the time has made a big difference.
Okay, you gave me full-on leg chills that time. That was awesome. I love it. So Madison, tell me a little bit more about how others perceive you and what you say to them.
So recently getting back out into the equine world with other people and other professionals, I have had horses and clients in the past that have come to me with like, I just can't handle this horse, etc. And then I start bringing out like the treat pouch and the target, and they're like, that's never going to work. All you're doing is bribing them. Once the treats run out, they're not going to listen, and things like that. But I found using that intuition and compassion the horse feels that they're allowed to also use it and explore that route. And just recently, I was asked to help people with a Liberty clinic, and it's very common in the horse world that treats are not allowed in competitions and shows. So I just wanted to make sure, and I said, hi, like, are treats allowed? And I got, no, whips are allowed, treats are not. And it blew my mind. Like, I had texted my friends, and I was like, how does this sentence not spark, like, a thought that, like, this is wrong? We're allowed to, like, chase after horses, or some people even use them on their horse. And that's completely normal. How is what I would consider in many cases abuse so normalized that people don't realize it? But treats are so abnormal to people, in that I try to phrase it to people that you get paid for going to work. Most of the time, unless you're a volunteer, why shouldn't your horse get paid? They're doing exactly what you're asking. Why not reward their try instead of punish them while they're trying? And that sometimes will help people see it as less bribing and more so reward. But it's definitely not as common in the equine world still to use positive reinforcement.
I really commend you for taking a stand and drawing the line in the sand for that, because, for me, I grew up in that industry for years. I mean, I started riding in 1986. And so I was often told, beat the pony over the jump, smack him. And that was just what I did. I felt terrible and I hated it. And, but I did it. And then sure enough, moments would happen that didn't feel right. And then I would start yelling at the instructor, like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I was starting to understand it didn't feel right, but I wasn't sure, like, what to do otherwise. So I'm so glad that so many more people are starting to see that positive reinforcement is an option, and that you're going to keep shining your light and show people that things are possible. And that's just such a beautiful thing. And it's so funny that you say, payment, because I used to joke about these things with my pony. He would say, I'll do the things and then you pay me. And it was wonderful. And we just go along, and then he'll turn his head and say, and I need some money now. Like, so I would pay him. And then there are moments where he would just completely stop, and I knew it was my time to get off. And I would joke, I'd say, I've run out of quarters. Like the
ride's ended.
The meter has stopped. I can't put any more quarters in. We are done. And I respect that. And he respects me for respecting it. And then the next ride gets even better. So that's something to remind people. It's like you're not quote unquote losing. You're actually winning, because you're acknowledging what the horse needs in the moment. They know that you're really caring about them, and so then they're going to offer you more the next time.
Yes. Yeah. I had very similar experiences at my first barn where I almost quit riding because, like, I watched one of the instructors. They went after a horse with a clipboard because they wouldn't go over a ditch. And it was so common, like, most of the horses you had to carry a crop with, or they had kimberwicks and pelhams and all these things, and I hated it. I would do my best to ride as lightly as I could, but like you said, even back then, you start feeling it, and you're like, this just doesn't feel right. So it's been a big part of my journey, is to promote, one, just ethical care of, like, letting horses be in fields and not stalled all the time, and using nice equipment and just trying to be as gentle as possible.
I'm so glad that you're in this world and you're talking about this. And so many more horses will appreciate it and benefit from that.
Mm-hmm. And I really just want people to understand that you will probably get looked at weird, but you're doing the right thing in the end of the day, and that's all that matters.
And that's what it comes down to. You've got to trust your heart, trust your intuition, and listen to your horse.
Look at that full circle.
Ta-da! I love it. Is there anything else you'd like to share that I haven't asked you yet?
I guess I'd share a little bit more about people that are dealing with either mental health issues or physical health, that it is a hard road, it is long, but allow your horses to be your support. And if people are giving you I don't get why you have horses if you can't ride them, ignore them. It's okay. Your horse just wants to be a horse, and it's perfectly okay to just want to go out and chill with them and be. And that horses understand. Again, they're the most forgiving animals I've ever met. So just keep trying and it'll get better.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
So did I. I really appreciate your insights, and I'll be sure to share all the info with everyone in the links so that way they can get a hold of you and follow you on Instagram as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Madison. Please, anyone, if you're interested in learning more about Madison, reach out to her. I'm sure she'd be happy to chat with you as well.
Yes, I would. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll close out with what I always say. May the horse be with you always.